The concrete giants of the city often hide secrets that the world has chosen to forget. In the heart of an abandoned district, where the windows are but hollow eyes and the wind whistles through rusted iron, a story was unfolding in the shadows. It was a cold, rainy evening, the kind of night where the dampness clings to your skin and the silence is heavy with neglect. Inside the skeletal remains of a once busy apartment complex, something small and fragile was fighting a silent battle against despair. Down in the suffocating darkness of a stagnant elevator shaft, a pair of amber eyes flickered. This was Cleo. She was a calico, a tapestry of white, orange, and black, now buried under layers of ash and grime. She lay at the very bottom of a 20-foot drop, a place where the sun never reached and the air smelled of wet stone and decay. Every breath she took was shallow, a tiny rib cage fluttering against the cold floor. She had fallen through a gap in the rusted doors days ago, and since then, her world had shrunk to a few square feet of debris and the distant, mocking sound of raindrops hitting the roof far above. Hunger was no longer a sharp pain. It had become a dull, heavy ache that made her limbs feel like lead. She tried to cry out, but her throat was parched, producing only a raspy, broken sound that was swallowed by the surrounding concrete. To Cleo, the world had become a place of darkness and isolation. She was a ghost in a tomb of man-made stone, waiting for a transition that seemed inevitable. Her fur, once soft and vibrant, was now a tangled mess of soot and cobwebs, blending her into the shadows until she was almost invisible. But outside, the silence was about to be broken. A heavy door creaked open on the ground floor, the sound echoing like a gunshot through the empty hallways. A beam of light, sharp and artificial, sliced through the gloom. It danced over peeling wallpaper and piles of rubble, searching for a rhythm that didn't belong to the wind. The rescuer moved slowly, his boots crunching on broken glass, his ears tuned to the slightest vibration. He had heard a rumor of a faint cry, a whisper of life in this graveyard of buildings, and he wasn't leaving until he found its source. The flashlight beam finally reached the edge of the elevator shaft. As the light spilled over the jagged metal lip and cascaded down into the pit, Cleo flinched. The sudden brightness was blinding, a terrifying intrusion into her dark reality. She huddled closer to the corner, her dilated pupils fixed on the glowing orb above. Up there, in the world of the living, the rescuer knelt down. He saw her, a tiny, shivering patch of calico fur at the bottom of a hole that should have been her grave. He didn't shout. He didn't rush. He spoke in a low, rhythmic hum, a sound intended to bridge the gap between human intent and animal fear. He began to prepare the equipment, his movements deliberate and steady. He lowered a rescue bag, lined with a soft, warm towel, attached to a sturdy rope. The bag descended slowly, swaying like a pendulum in the volumetric light. Cleo watched it with a mixture of terror and curiosity. To her, this was a strange, descending monster. But the scent that drifted from it, the scent of something clean and warm, was a memory of a life she had almost forgotten. The bag touched the floor of the shaft with a soft thud. The rescuer waited. He knew that trust cannot be forced, especially in the depths of a dark hole. He kept the light directed just away from her eyes, creating a soft glow that illuminated the path to safety. Minutes ticked by, measured only by the rhythmic dripping of water and the sound of his calm voice drifting down from the heights. Cleo sniffed the air. She took one trembling step, then another. Her legs shook, nearly giving way, but something deep inside her, the primal urge to survive, pushed her forward. With a final, desperate surge of energy, she crawled into the bag and buried her head in the soft fabric. Above, the rescuer felt the slight tension on the line. He began to pull, inch by inch, his hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. He moved slowly to ensure the bag didn't strike the walls of the shaft. As Cleo rose, the darkness began to recede. The cold air of the pit was replaced by the slightly warmer, though still damp, air of the hallway. When the bag finally cleared the edge, the rescuer reached out and gathered her into his arms. He could feel her heart racing like a trapped bird against his palm. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket, shielding her from the drafty corridors as he made his way back to the exit. The transition from the abandoned building to the rescue vehicle was a blur of rain and flashing lights. For the first time in days, Cleo felt the vibration of an engine and the steady warmth of a heater. She closed her eyes, the amber fire in them finally dimming as she surrendered to the exhaustion that had been held at bay by adrenaline. The rescue station was a world of white light and sterile smells, a stark contrast to the gray tomb she had left behind. The first few hours were critical. Cleo was placed under a warming lamp, her tiny body hooked up to a life-saving IV drip to restore the fluids she had lost. The vet moved with gentle efficiency, checking for broken bones and internal injuries. Miraculously, the debris at the bottom of the shaft had cushioned her fall. She was emaciated and dehydrated, but her spirit remained intact. As the nights passed, the transformation began. It started with the eyes. The terror began to fade, replaced by a soft, weary recognition of the hands that fed her. The first time she took a morsel of food from a bowl, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. It was a small victory, but in the world of animal rescue, small victories are the foundation of miracles. Then came the grooming. The rescuer spent hours carefully combing the soot and cobwebs from her fur, revealing the brilliant orange and deep black patches that had been hidden for so long. Cleo began to reclaim her identity. She was no longer the shadow in the shaft. She was a vibrant, living creature with a personality that began to bloom like a flower in the sun. She discovered the joy of a soft bed, the mystery of a rattling toy, and the comforting vibration of her own purr, a sound she hadn't made since she was a kitten. The rescue station, once a place of needles and exams, became a playground where she rediscovered her strength. The final stage of her journey was the most important. A story that begins in darkness must end in light. A new family had been following her progress, moved by the footage of the tiny cat who refused to give up in the deep dark. The day they came to meet her, the sun was streaming through the clinic windows, casting golden rectangles across the floor. Cleo didn't hide. She walked toward them, her tail held high with a slight, confident twitch at the tip. When the new owners picked her up, she didn't struggle. She tucked her chin into the crook of their arm and closed her eyes. The journey from the cold concrete of an abandoned elevator to the warmth of a forever home was complete. She had been found in a place where no one was looking, saved by a person who refused to stop listening, and healed by a community that believed her life was worth the effort. Now, Cleo spends her days chasing sunbeams across a plush carpet. She has a tall cat tree where she can look out at the world from a height of her own choosing, far away from the edges of dark pits. Her amber eyes are bright and clear, reflecting a world that is no longer terrifying, but full of wonder. Her story is a reminder that even in the deepest holes, in the darkest buildings, and in the most forgotten corners of our world, hope is a light that can never be fully extinguished, as long as there is someone